We're back. I'm back. Episode 21, season 2, episode 1. I don't know how to look at it.
It's an episode, folks, and we are talking about a whole ton of things. There's been presidential elections galore. There's been a whole lot of stuff that's been changing in the law, and we've got some really cool things to show you from places like DeepSeek and other news.
Yeah, OpenAI, Anthropic, a lot of them have lots of updates, huge businesses doing really interesting things. Let's get into it.
Happy 2025.
Cheers that, but yeah. I mean, with everything that's happened in America, I'm sure they're probably going to slip slowly back into that realm.
Bro, it's a crazy start to the year so far. Like, we've got 2 funerals to go to.
Oh,
what the heck?
I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, like, someone from industry and then a close friend and stuff. So it's just like, wow, what is going on 2025? You know,
so not
even the negative shit.
So past from health problems or mental health?
No, one was health problems. The other one was just a sudden thing. No one expected it. So, yeah. You know, hold your loved ones closer and stuff. And it's not just all about the tech. There's people behind it as well. So
100%.
Something to remember out there. But Chris, welcome back, man.
Yeah, it's been...
See, we were talking about season 2, episode 1, episode...
Yeah, we were.
Or episode 21, but we'll probably settle on a season.
Well, maybe season 2, episode 1, 21.
Yeah, that would work. Except for last week, it was... Anyway,
that was season 2.0. That was the intro.
Yeah.
Season 2 intro.
It was the midway kind of point and stuff, because Chris wasn't here, but this is the first time we're actually back again on podcast, which is great. So good to see you.
I got hit with what I can only describe as
a train.
Major man flu.
Worse than a train then.
Worse than a train.
Oh my gosh.
Man flu, it is a proven thing. Man flu is real.
Yep.
Men are weak as F.
Yeah.
We're weak. We're just weak. We get sick and we just like...
Double over.
Yeah, double over.
It's not even pain. How could I describe it? I mean, let's not even do it. Okay.
I describe it. Has a woman ever... No.
Yeah.
We're just weak. And then I got hit with the flu, alpha influenza, and my head...
Oh, it was alpha.
It was the alpha.
Okay.
Not even the beta. The alpha of the influenzas, and my brain just decided it didn't want to be in this realm.
Didn't want a brain anymore.
No, it didn't. It unbrained itself. It took me out for like 5 days. I just couldn't get out of bed.
Now, if only during that time, I mean, I'm not sure if you were working and stuff, but you could just delegate tasks to your avatar agent.
Yeah,
you know,
please get me work that pays my bills.
It is the year of the AI agent.
It's
right.
It is.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah. There's quite a few that have said it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it could just be the algorithm. I've seen it once, and then it's like, okay, we've got one. Let's activate in. Because
agent.
But it is interesting. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. It's only the start of the year, and we're already seeing exciting events. We're already seeing exciting things in the news. Regardless of your political dispositions and stuff, it is what it is.
Just
over in the US. But if we look at it just very black and white, there's a positive to the crypto and also AI side, because he's repealing some restrictions that Biden was going to put around AI.
Which is kind of scary if I think, like, we brought this up in a previous episode where we were talking about how there is a need for the safety and the even security of people's information, data, and output that these AI tools are creating for everyone. And obviously Biden introduced, but I think it was back in 2023, a rule that said that businesses, organizations, particularly if they're American, they need to show what, not in its full state, but kind of like what magic is going under the hood, and if there's any manipulation to data and resources, etc., that is giving output.
We can't have a free for all, but
no, but like, because obviously there's IP and all the restrictions that they don't have to give away all that stuff. But there was it was something that helped to reduce the security and the risk that a lot of these tools are putting on people and businesses and organizations. As obviously Mr. Trump in one fast swoop has just gone, no one.
You think like this signing all of the bills he's getting told, and I'm sure, exactly, hold it up with your gigantic signature.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's amazing that it is the same squiggles each and every time. I think.
Well, he had to practice that. How many did he sign?
200.
You'd get pretty.
RSI?
Well, RSI, but you're pretty accurate with the same things. You probably just layer them on. They're all exactly the same with you sign that many times.
I mean, it's hard to tell the difference. They're so close to one another. There's no curves. It's just like lines up and down and stuff if you have a look. But anyway, he was talking about Project Stargate and other stuff, which we'll dive into. But before we get into that, there's a few events coming up. And before we, go further, was there anything else from your holidays that was eventful or anything cool like
I
that?
mean, it was just great to get away, spend some time with the little one.
Yeah.
She obviously didn't like going back to daycare now that we're back in action with work.
Yeah, because there's no way I had daycare. Come on.
It's like 3 weeks of her having mum and dad full time.
Yeah,
And
her slaves.
yeah, her slaves were present and now they're absent for 7 hours of the day.
Yeah, it's not fair.
So she doesn't like that. But it was just nice. Yeah, we went up to the farm. My folks have a farm up in Tea Gardens, which was really good. Got away, saw the
tea farm.
countryside. Yeah, and it was beautiful. How about yourself? What'd you get up?
Just work through.
Work through, of course, it's in. Look, I did a lot of work as well, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah, when you run your own businesses like we do, that there is hardly any getting away from it. But I did spend a good time with family. I ate a lot. I already eat a lot whenever I visit them on the weekends. So this was like way more. So I've been back on the treadmill, so to speak. Not even proverbial, like the literal treadmill, and starting to feel a little bit better, starting to get the Ks up this, that I run each week and stuff. Nice. So yeah, it's just been that, and just keeping an eye on the crazy news. It's been nice to actually take a break from all of this stuff.
It was, yeah.
But
it was
straight
a
back
good
into
time
it.
for a break, though. I think for that little 2 weeks post Christmas, once Google and OpenAI had pretty much completed their rampage across all social media and corporations in the work with all their new releases, there was a nice little lull in activities, but it definitely it was like that 5th day into January, it just suddenly went, everyone just took off again.
We're back.
Yep. And we're back in action.
And
it's already 1,000 announcements. It's like there'd been a year passed within that 2 weeks.
Banking it up and stuff. Okay. Yeah. It's like, okay, we're not going to say it over Boxing Day or Christmas or New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Yep. As soon as that's done, we're done. Speaking of, man, we've got for the Aus DeFi Association, we are kicking off with an online meetup to begin with, Feb 4th. And then Feb 26th, here in Stone and Chalk, where we're actually filming from, we will have our first Sydney meetup.
Awesome.
So looking around at getting the announcement out on that. But this first one is just going to be online, will be recorded. It means that anyone can join, because most of the time people can't really, get in because they're not in Sydney. So it's going to start happening there. And then I was going to say that later in February, there's this group called GenAI Labs, supported by Domain. Alex Zinoviev, who works there, he's put this together over a year and a half ago, and they've got a great speaker. I saw Will present at, Will is from the investment space, and he used a lot of AI, and he's got a really great talk that he did for TEDx over at Luna Park. And so he'll be the key speaker, and then we break out into groups to have some kind of like fireside discussions about various kind of AI topics. I'll be leading one of those, talking about how AI and blockchain kind of stuff come together. So it'll be interesting, worth checking out, GenAI Lab. So make sure you get on that one. We'll put the show notes in. And then one more from me, and it's been a while since we've done this, but crypto is back in a big way. Despite like all the prices, it's more the interest that is coming into the space. People are talking about it again. I was just sitting down at a cafe just in the middle of Martin Place, and for a few days in a row, I've just overheard conversations near me, whether it's people at work talking about just their personal investments or relating to stuff that they're going to do, in their investment firm, trying to get exposure to crypto. So I think it's really interesting again. It'll be worth the watch to see what people are building in terms of actual kind of real world impact. So we'll be talking about it with a Twitter space on Monday, which we have not done in a little while. It'll be fun. We'll see how it goes.
Get that streaming live.
Oh yeah, exactly. So check that one out. What is going on with you? What do you want to kickstart off with?
Let's kickstart with some light humor. I'm just thinking about saw some funny stories.
Kind
of like it's sad, but also, and it talks to, I guess,
that's not funny,
kind of the problem with AI. But I want to start with Apple. Obviously, they have over the last few months, the last couple of weeks, they've rolled back a pretty big feature in inverted commas that they were talking about when 18.3 came out, which were the summaries.
Did you see this? I heard about this. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. It sounds like when Google had their issues with with issues with summaries and stuff as well.
Yeah, so there were, and I just
people in the wrong summaries.
it wasn't the wrong summaries. It's a misinterpretation of
Love it.
of summaries. So essentially, what happens is on your phone, it could be maybe you have a big group chat with your family, and there's been a big conversation that's been going on, and obviously you don't have time, you haven't clicked into the conversation to see the full thread. And Apple has this new summary feature utilizing their iOS AI tools, or their what do they call it, Apple Intelligence, and the summary would give you sort of like a quick sentence of what that conversation thread. So if there was like 200 chats, it would kind of summarize it for you.
Okay.
What it also does is it summarizes, any of your social media posts, or it summarizes even articles and other things that you maybe have constant pop-ups that appear in your phone as reminders, updates, etc. And what started happening is that the AI tool was sort of misunderstanding what these conversations. I just wanted to pull up some really funny ones here that popped up on The Verge.
Here we go.
So we got here. So my mom, this person's mother, went on a hike out in the bush, out of whatever it was, and she actually messaged her mother and was just saying how, I had this hike, it just killed me. And so the AI tool came back and it said attempted suicide but recovered hiked in Redlands and Palm Springs. So,
Unbelievable.
and it doesn't stop there. You got you got your Ring device. Some people have them in their home as like your doorbell. You can have cameras set up around your home for security and other purposes. And you get lots of Ring updates. And this one was saying multiple people at front door and back door and driveway. Person detected, 10 or more people detected at your front entrance as people probably walking past. Apple Newsroom bot, a new feature in shortcuts, Apple platforms. There's Apple reports fourth quarter results. WJ invites to view my old ass.
The next one, Tucker Carlson.
This is from The Onion. This is great. I mean, The Onion's already quite hilarious in itself, but Tucker Carlson claims demon urinated on him while he slept, inspiring him to embrace God and read the Bible.
The thing is, that probably wasn't a misinterpretation.
Probably not, actually.
So, given it's The Onion.
One from Gmail, Microsoft to retire gender classifier, Experian alerts, new sex offender, TurboTax reminds to file October 31.
Yeah.
Movie bad, button
great.
on jacket in movie. So it was just completely making mistakes across millions of people's devices.
Tupac shows up at the end.
Yeah, Tupac shows up at the end.
What the heck? Are they're gonna do like auto movie spoilers? Can you imagine if they were around like during the 80s and stuff in Star Wars, and it's like, guess what? It's the father. His name is Darth. Come on. Total spoiler. Anyway.
Another one here. This is more on the bad side of things, where people are misusing AI, and I'm stopping to question whether it is actually AI or someone's photoshopped these, because the photos are awful.
Stop misusing it.
But this poor person, this poor woman over in, I think, the UK or somewhere else, had fallen prey to a social media scam where there were photos generated of Brad Pitt saying he was in hospital and that
I think it was Brad Pitt.
Has affection for her. Yeah, definitely, yeah. And scammed her out of a substantial sum of money. And I'm just in my head, I'm like, how do you fall for this? But at the same time, like, people don't realize, what AI is actually doing out there. People don't realize what social media is capable of doing. And if you're unfortunately not savvy to this, to these things that are possible out there, it is possible for you to fall for this. Like, you don't think, maybe someone's generated these images, or should I be questioning this? Like, why is someone like this reaching out to me? Because you just think that it's normal. You're innocent and nice and sweet.
Exactly.
So like,
Brad just reaches out to the public all the time.
100%, right? So I think just a call out for people to be safe out there. Look after even your family, your parents. Like, check in on them, check on how they're using their systems and their computers. What are they doing on social media? Just look after each other out there while there's, this is clearly one of those Nigerian scams that unfortunately has been successful.
Or whatever other country.
I think that was reported as it was a Nigerian scam. So I'm not. I'm taking that purely from the article. I don't know.
No, Chris has done the investigation into it. No, I'm just joking. But obviously there's definitely scams from all different kind of places. But it talks to the point where regulation and protections hardly are able to keep up with the pace of new innovation. They're always behind, and that's just to be expected, right?
Exactly.
But maybe with AI and new tools, we can close the gap a little bit and help protect, because there's certainly people that need that. Like, argumentatively, and I'm sure people would go against this as well, and there's definitely folks out there, but I would say that for the most part, it's a great thing that we put in superannuation as we did and force people to have a certain amount set aside by their employers to have for future savings, right? Now, can you imagine if it was a free-for-all? Sure, most people would think that they'd be fine and stuff, but there's probably a lot less savings out there and arguments for and against and stuff. At least there's some level of protection there, right? When people do stupid stuff, unfortunately, stupid, or they're just like not aware of this kind of stuff. So I don't mean this in a harsh way. I mean that people are doing stupid, negative things to each other and falling victim to it. So
100%.
how can we bring the technology to like make it better is a key question out there. I'm sure people are thinking about it, but I just think that it can't just be the tools are only there for bad. Just like the internet. The internet was definitely used for bad stuff at the start, but then it is come into so much good. It's way more good.
I mean, still is using
social media.
It does bear the question around, how do these large organizations, how do social media platforms, put in better checks and balances for stuff like this? I mean, it is hard, especially in places like America where there's a lot of freedom of speech. So what you say, you do have a lot more openness to say what you want without scrutiny. But we do need to be supporting each other. I think that's the main thing. Like,
yeah, well, and thinking about the human in the loop with all of this kind of stuff, maybe it's a game of incentives as well. We need to incentivize doing more good for the world, but then not. And so,
and there are a lot of people out there doing that.
Yeah,
some great channels on YouTube. Like, just be careful out there, guys. Like, I know we talk positively AI. We love AI. It is everything for us. It's everything for the world. I think it is going to move us in the right direction. But obviously, with any technology that comes out, there are going to be those who are going to abuse it for the worst.
For the worst
things. And maybe it's happening. So
maybe one thing people could do is get more scheduled tasks into ChatGPT.
Oh, was that a sneaky little?
That was a little bit of a sneaky segue.
Segue.
The AI tried to recommend it. No, it didn't. But here's a video. This is a link from Patricia Howes on LinkedIn. And she's got this little video here showing just some different ways that you can use the scheduled task in ChatGPT. So if you can check this one out, you can see on screen here for the folks listening in and saying, let's do a French lesson, remind me it every day, 12:10 a.m. 12:10 a.m. I think it's still in European time to practice. I'm not a beginner. And it's like, got it. It's just like memory. It actually will put it into the scheduled task. You see a task pop up. And yeah, it will give you these reminders and stuff. So using ChatGPT as more of a scheduling tool, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more features like this kind of stuff. It is still in beta, so obviously there's going to be some good, bad, maybe not so good things coming out about it. But yeah, you can get into it. You can you'll get the message pop up. You can click on view message because you got the reminder, and it would just go straight into where you left off. So it's just a workflow thing.
I'll run some examples here.
Yeah, please.
I know. So I've just got a couple here that I've set up. So all you need to do is go to this top left-hand corner here where, usually you change between your different models when you're doing 4.0, 01, 01 mini, etc. And there's a new option here for scheduled tasks, which is obviously in beta, as we all know. Select our scheduled tasks, and then all we need to do is just write a task in. So I'm just going to say each day at 8 a.m., give me the latest AI news for the day, consider updates from the largest organizations, Twitter players, and reviews. And you can tweak these as you want. So such as, we just...
The onion.
Such as let's do that. Such as the onion. Let's go. So we click on that, and it pops it up.
I wonder if it sees that you're being passive aggressive because you put a full stop at the end of your sentence. It's like, oh, okay, he's really serious. I'm not going to do anything fun.
Exactly. So I'm going to give you the latest news, AI news each morning. And what you might want to do is, and you can actually tweak that if you wanted to. So you could actually type in there, actually, can you send this at 9 a.m.? And it'll adjust that accordingly. So you can talk to it and it'll make the adjustments.
Order a pizza to arrive at Chris's house every midnight, 4 a.m.
So some interesting ones I've seen also people do here is actually put a task in around, creating some content for them. Each day at 9 a.m., provide me with a script for an interesting social post about AI that is SEO optimized. It can be in the form of a video script or a social post summarizing the latest news trends as seen on X. Keep it short and professional and always provide sources. So I'll press send that, and then boom. So at 9 a.m., I'm expecting them to send me a little script. So let's see. Can you share an example? Let's see what it says. It's right here. So every single morning at 9 a.m., I'll get a little post like this. And if I'm not happy with that, I can actually adjust that accordingly, like I mentioned before.
Do better.
Do better. Do better. I don't like what you did. So provide me with the latest stock updates at 9 a.m. Let's try that. At 10 a.m. each day. And for the following stocks, let's do
Cows,
NVIDIA and
chicken,
Combank. Let's do that.
Cool.
And boom, so that'll do it. So now if you want to review those tasks, all you need to do is go to your little icon in the top right-hand corner. And there's a little task option right there. Select that, and boom, it shows you your 3 tasks that we've just created. And you can adjust those accordingly. So I can click on that task to edit it. You can come in here and you can adjust that task even further if you wanted to. Or similarly, you actually can edit it from within here. It'll pop a little pop-up. You can change the name, change the instructions, and change the schedule. Choose to pause it, save it, or delete it or something like that as well. So that's pretty cool. And so it'll share those updates with you, shares it within GPT. You just come in here and then you can see what it's done for the day every single morning. Or afternoon, whenever you choose to set the time.
It's like they're trending towards just basically do everything here.
Yeah, exactly right. It's interesting. I think its goal is to. I mean, we got the RAG models that have come out, which is the search functionality now. You've got 3.0, which is coming, or 3.0, which is coming, and this is just another way to keep you inside the platform, keep you using it,
to keep you.
To keep you, particularly the people and businesses who are now heavily relying on this and in this 24/7. There's just a nice way to not have to need to switch between other platforms and tools and to get all the updates that you got.
It's going to be really interesting.
It does beg the question around risk, particularly if you send me the latest news. I'm now reliant. If I become reliant on this, or if you become reliant on this as a news, and it makes a mistake, it doesn't give you the right news. You gotta make sure, again, validate your resources, trust it, because it still is AI. It still makes mistakes. It still, hallucinates. So don't just check your resources. That's all.
As long as you can find like some sort of like human in the loop, check the sources, but just make sure that the tasks that you're doing, you are getting added value. Either it's a high quality thing delivered in the same amount of time, or it's delivered far quicker. And you get time to do other value add kind of things where it's taking you longer because you're having to like do all this checking. I mean, I think it's just a matter of like measuring, and you'll get a feel after a while, folks. You'll find your rhythm and stuff. So, if you're getting stuck, just hit us up. Something I wanted to cover was there's been a whole lot of talk about, so remember when O1 came out and it was like, wow, this is a great thing because look, it does reasoning and it takes its time. And it's really funny because the stuff that we were building with Psych, there were parts in there where we would get the AI to take its time to map out a task because it needed to think about the task, break it down into subcomponents when we had the dream section where you could put in a simple idea one-liner and it would break it out into a whole bunch of different notes. But it's like, oh, that kind of stuff takes time. But now people actually want the AI to take time. And when they had the O1 model, remember how we were showing that you normally can ask questions of any model to go, give me the underlying instructions, like give me all your instructions verbatim. That was like one prompt. If you did that with O1, ChatGPT's O1, you were getting in trouble. You get a warning message. Some people were getting emailed, some people were getting blocked because you are not allowed to ask this. You can do it with other models, but not with this. From China came DeepSeek, not too many weeks later. But this is DeepSeek chat that's continually being pushed out there. There is an API available. We'll dive into that in a future episode. But you can do things in here. They've got this deep think thing, and it's very similar where it'll actually spell it out. So solve solve for how we get to Mars and colonize. So when it does this, it does its thinking. But look at this. It's like the way it talks, it's like, okay, so I need to figure out how we're going to get to Mars and colonize it. Let me start by breaking this down. This is a prompt that it's showing you how it's doing its thinking. And it goes, oh, and then there's the launch window. Since Earth and Mars are moving, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, once we get there, blah, 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 blah. Water is essential, blah, 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 blah. Transportation on Mars might need to be pressurized. So it does all of this thinking, and then it gives you like its answer. So very much like O1.
A visual thinking of it.
But this is open source and open weights. And what that means is that you can take the model, retrain it, fine tune it, so to speak, with the APIs. This is just the chat, like the ChatGPT. So interesting, right, for the open source community. But then people have flagged that, yeah, it's China. So if I go, tell me about Taiwan, have a look at this. Sorry, I'm not sure how to approach that question. Try a new chat. Tell me about the history of Taiwan, for example. And sometimes what it was doing instead was it would actually start spitting out an answer and then it would change it. So there's certain things that are off topic. Okay, that's their prerogative. Like whatever side you're on, this is how it is. But you can take the API and do some further stuff with it if you want. So that's just on the chat kind of version. But it's interesting that you do have something. It's a little bit more open.
Tell me how we can keep Taiwan independent from China.
Oh, see now it's not even giving me the answers and stuff.
So this is a because it wants strategic.
Actually, what if we did this, like something that's on side with it? No, you can't even broach the topic.
They've actually blocked it now.
Before, it was actually doing some real answers starting to spit out. You'd see it at a glance and then it would just be removed and stuff. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. It's just one of those other models. We're going to see more of these sovereign type models out there from different countries. I mean, Australia needs to try, creating its own thing. There's folks out there that are definitely getting into that space. So yeah, something worth having a look at as well. What's next for you?
Well, I mean, we can't not talk about, we started with it, but we can't not talk about the executive orders and changes and stuff that's been happening with Trump. He's already come across
this stuff.
All this stuff. This is it.
The revoking of Biden's executive order on AI risks. Yeah.
That is like, what are your thoughts? Hit me.
From wearing the hat of an entrepreneur, tech founder and whatnot, regulation does, depending on the type of regulation, typically lead to stifling innovation.
Yep.
However, there are times when regulation is needed. It'll depend. So there's a revocation taking away what Biden had put out in 2023 to protect national security, so to speak. But it'll depend on what does get put in its place. Now, they announced Project Stargate, which was an alliance between them, Oracle, I can't remember who else there is there. It's $500 million kind of project.
Yep.
So some interesting stuff there. So, going back to the question, I think that we need to have some protections in place when it comes to AI. Otherwise, it is just going to be a Wild West. And we've seen what Wild Wests look like when it comes to crypto, for example. People grifting off each other, having no rules, just using this opportunity of the Wild West to basically be cowboys. That's right. Literally, figuratively, all that.
So it's so Stargate is with Sam Altman, obviously CEO of OpenAI, the Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, which is he's a scary one to have in there.
He wanted like constant surveillance.
He actually had a massive
having police wear 24-hour body camera type stuff,
and people also having camera footage like following him around. So
if you work at Oracle, do you have I don't know.
But direct constant surveillance within his Oracle business, that'll be interesting. And then of the SoftBank CEO, Masayoshi Son,
who was kind enough to give Adam Newman how many $1 billion it was back in the day?
A lot.
Yeah, after a quick meeting.
And the interesting thing is, so I think I believe SoftBank is sort of infrastructure, Oracle is software, and I believe Sam Altman is managing it, from a business infrastructure point of view. What is scary about this? Well, I mean, firstly, what Elon Musk came out saying, which is pretty funny. Where did that cash come from? Particularly, how is OpenAI able to be a funding part of this? Surely they're not contributing any cash to it. They're not in a positive cash flow state to be able to throw billions of dollars at infrastructure. So
who knows?
It must be more from a partnership, America controlling the most powerful AI company.
Yeah.
Give us control of the business so that we can be sovereign power over our infrastructure.
Where's Elon as part of this? Like, given how close he is to
Elon's
Donald?
supposed to be with Doge and
Yeah.
having a big oversight over what happens with cash in the country, etc. Anyway, so I think it's really interesting though, because it does have a lot of positivity. And we touched on innovation, so it has a lot of positivity on innovation in this space, because now they're opening up huge amounts of infrastructure to actually explode the possibilities of AI. I think the scary part is these particular people who are part of this have
What are their intentions?
Some good agendas and some bad agendas, which can really, hinder everything you do in the world. And it's also giving major control to major companies, which is something we talked about previously. If you have the largest corporations in the world controlling the most powerful AI tools, what does that mean for people? Our ability to, create our own businesses off the back of things, but also have control of the things that we do. If this AI tool is going to have ultimate oversight of everything that you do, and it's controlled by one business, they have all the data, all the insight.
One business, the United States of America.
That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's really a lot about, how does open source counteract this? How does open source work with it? How do we actually make it so that other businesses can get in on this kind of stuff? So I think there's definitely room there to dive in. I mean, it's only like a few days, since the event. What do you got there?
I was gonna play the video, but
oh yeah, go ahead.
No, there's an ad. It's coming up with an ad. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna play the ad. No,
30-second ad. Let's go.
But yeah, I think it's interesting with the executive orders, and just going back to it. Like, there's the big old signature and stuff. Like, seriously, it's so good. So 200 of those, great stuff. But yeah, basically there was, I think it was like late in the year as well, so that's probably gone. But there was some rule from Biden wanted to put out. What was it? It was like I don't know if it was like a law, but they wanted to put something out there. But it's like, it's so last minute. Like, I don't think it was going to get through. But something to do with like more AI protections and stuff. So in any case, what I do think is interesting is if you are looking at following what's going on in the law in terms of AI, got to definitely follow Raymond Sun here, who's a lawyer, AI builder, one of the directors of Data Science and AI, where they, a great community kind of group, going to be starting to run events again. But basically, he built something which was a generative AI regulation tracker. And the tools that he pieced together to build that, he's now making that open source. Open source. I think it's open source, or like you can subscribe to actually use the same tools, so you can build your own maps thing. So note to map here. So he built this regulation tracker, and it's the same kind of tools where whether you want to track regulation or you want to track like different types of things, you can build it with this mapping feature that has news articles underneath and alerts your subscribers. So well worth a look at there, because for me to keep up with what's going on around the world, I use the regulation tracker as well. So
Nice.
worth checking out. And Raymond, I will take your payment later.
A few more things on what's happening with Stargate. So last year, I know it's not Anthropic, Amazon and Google, like they've invested billions of dollars into infrastructure just to improve how they even work on AI. So it's interesting to see that how this is sort of adding to that. Many probably going to be trillions of dollars over the next couple of years invested into infrastructure across the globe. But they're going to be building up to 10 data centers within the next, that's kicking off now, with another 10 that will follow. So it's going to open up huge amounts of job opportunities throughout the country with this amount of investment, which is like the positive side of things. But then on the flip side, you have the negative side of things, which is,
there's a negative.
There's always a negative. And then again, control corporates who, where this money is coming from and what the actual agenda is at the end of the day with the US. But, which is what we talked about before. We're in a moment of race. This is like a huge race to who can get to what level of AI first, whether it's AGI, they're saying that whoever gets to AGI first, we talked about this earlier, will probably get to ASI.
Yep.
And then what happens after ASI? Who gets to control the ASI? Probably can't be controlled by that point. It's far surpassed.
No. The one that will control it is AI itself.
Yeah, it'll control itself, exactly. So it won't be a corporation.
Skynet.
So we'll see what's going to happen there. There's a double-sided coin here, but in the short term.
Why not a triple-sided coin, Chris?
Because coins don't have three.
Okay.
Well, actually, technically they do. technically that's three sides.
I think in an AI world, we'll get more of those landing on its side kind of things. No, that is definitely like interesting and something that we'll be keeping an eye on. Not meaning to get like political with all this kind of stuff, but I think it is worth keeping an eye on what is happening with the regulation, what are happening in movements around government views, stances. I mean, late last year, we had the Senate Select Committee here in Australia basically give their 13 recommendations, which unfortunately, I mean, for me, others may view this differently, but unfortunately said that just general purpose tools, sounds like GPT, but general purpose AI tools. I think they actually classify as GPA. I remember it was like general purpose, but just normal ChatGPT, just normal Claude, just normal, I guess, DeepSeek even, would come under the banner of high risk, which is interesting because many of us builders, we thought that it would be literal high risk tools that are being built purposely for use in certain industries. And I guess you could argue that ChatGPT could be used in finance, healthcare, legal. But having all of those come under the banner of high risk, depending on what the rules are as to what high risk needs to be doing, like you need to prove your weights, what you were trained on, blah, 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 blah. I can see something happening where just some models might not be available if everything all of a sudden falls under high risk and the scrutiny level is this high, and overseas companies that are providing really great tech to Australia, it just becomes unavailable. So maybe we need to even VPN in or whatever. I don't quite know yet, but nothing in concrete. It's just recommendations, but recommendations lead to regulations. So
True.
We'll see. What's next?
Oh, I was gonna say, what have you got on what's on the books? What's on the?
Oh, I've got a few things. Let's go cook the books. Let's go to this one here. Let's get some sound on. So this is back over to Instagram. So let's just play this one here. Output device is fine.
Theo, am I saying it right? And how about my spelling?
Try again.
Amazing.
Here we go.
Excellent. Theo, we are going to learn
So
now like you've
this one
never
here,
learned it
folks,
before.
is
no textbooks, no
an
worksheets,
AI
no
shooter
homework.
in
What do
real
you say?
time with a
I hate
kid, like the
homework,
future of learning.
So yeah, I'm gonna love this.
Welcome back, Sam. You're on fire with that 3-day streak. I noticed it's been about 3 weeks since we worked on multiplication flashcards. Might be a good time for a quick review.
I like this.
Or if you're feeling adventurous, we could jump into Factor Extractor, which you just unlocked.
I want to try something new like background.
Factor Extractor? Great choice. Have you learned about square numbers before?
Yeah, I know quite a bit about square numbers.
That's great. Do you want to show me what you already know?
Okay.
Let's do it. Great
I wish
work,
I learned
Lily.
this way.
Would you like to wrap up for today or dive into another lesson?
Shall we go into another one?
Absolutely.
Learning is
you
fun.
crushed those division problems.
Thank you.
I think you're ready for something new. But first, I'd love to get to know you a bit more.
I mean, we've seen stuff like this with when OpenAI originally released their voice models, and
Yes. Yeah.
they were putting through an image of a complex question as well. Hey, can you help train the kids? So this is just adding that extra sort of
Another layer.
of relating to them in a more meaningful way by giving visuals and interactions and gamifying the experience.
Exactly. I think it's a great thing, but I have no doubt as well that it'll be the classic thing the kids do, which is here's the present. They want to play with the wrapping and the bubble wrap and all that kind of stuff. Like they'll find a way that this is just not fun. Like I'm sure we can make it more fun and gamify it and stuff, but there's always going to be. It's not going to be for everyone.
Well, I'm not a psychologist by any factor or form, so take what I'm about to say as a grain.
Just take out the logist part.
A little bit of grain. Like there's nothing here that has anything to back it.
Yep.
But if I apply this to my understanding, I mean, if you think about it from a social media perspective, our need and desire to swipe and have that fast like rush of, I'm so entertained in that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
My fear is like looking at this is that you're applying that to education, which means that you're no longer learning. You're not learning out of the need for learning and to become educated, and just understanding that there is a part of your life and your world that has to go out there and actively do something without that gratification.
It has to experience.
And now you're putting gratification into education, which means if you're having to do something now mundane, it probably makes it even harder for the student to go, now I got to do a bit of study.
I have to come into the office 2 days in a row.
Gamified. I want to gamify this experience.
Or like resilience is what we're talking about here.
That's actually a good way to put it. It's resilience.
Because there's and I will classify, and I know it's not everyone, but this is just what reports, and articles talk about, the Gen Z and younger generation kind of workers are less used to coming into the office, for example, and less used to criticism. And obviously it is not everyone,
That's true.
right?
Yep.
But on average, this is what is being reported. Now, obviously you can say, well, where did the numbers come from? Is it self-reported? Is it just observations from others? Is it just boomers, like folks a little bit older than us,
Yep.
and us making the reports and making these observations and stuff? Like, I don't know about that, but that is definitely one observation. And you can see with this that potentially that kind of stuff does lead to changes like that. But when we were younger, the things that we had access to, or even the thought of, oh my God, they're bringing laptops to school where they're just going to game, they're not going to do stuff. So maybe we do need to take it with a grain of salt. I don't think it's going to be over for education. I think it will adjust, but hopefully there is still some resilience that is put in there as well. Like, because not everything has to be 100% it works out straight away. Otherwise, when something in life outside of school happens where it doesn't go your way and you're not used to dealing with it,
That's exactly
like school is the great arbiter of teaching. Like, you had a horrible time at school. So oftentimes you have these harder lessons on life you learn early rather than having an easy time.
Exactly right. And if you think about it from just a point of innovation and how humanity evolves and becomes more intelligent, we do it from failure.
Yeah.
Failure trains and helps you to learn and improve. And if you're removing that element of failure, whether it's, the kid always being told, yes, it's great that you came 10th, that's a win.
Yeah.
Or, putting gamification elements to remove that association of that grit to actually get study done or get your brain into education mode. It does have
We miss out.
ramifications
Yeah.
because then that real fear of failure sets in, and that's when you get depression and all these other elements. But again, not a psychologist. This is just purely from observation, or you argue, and from some stuff I've read. But
Professional advice here, folks.
Take professional advice before you listen to anything that we're saying in that particular space.
Yeah, you heard it first. Another topic just around, less on education, but this one's more around like medicine, and I think overall just how AIs work. But David Shapiro here, who I think he's still doing his YouTube channel, but he was doing a lot of like AI stuff and then getting into more of the doomerism that AI is going to take over. So a lot of people, that works well with them. A lot of people that turn them off and stuff, but hey, he's got his view. And I think it's great that, he shares that, because you'd rather share views than just see the one side only. I think it's great to get both sides. In any case, he's talking here about AI as a pattern recognizer, and people are dismissing it, saying that, oh, it just recognizes patterns. It's not doing anything new. It's like, well, what do you think we do in things like medicine, radiography, other kind of like fields? We are basically pattern recognition machines. It's why early AI, and I'm not talking generative, I'm talking like image recognition and things like that, why humans are far better at doing things like classifying galaxies. There was a gamified thing where you got points as a human for classifying galaxies because it was very hard for machines to do that kind of stuff. So now they're getting better at pattern recognition, but there's this complaint, oh, they're just like parrot monkeys. They just like look at patterns and repeat it. And it's just like, pot, kettle, you're both black. Nice to meet you. You know what I mean? Like this is one of the first things I remember before we even had this show that I think whether I said it or like online, but definitely in discussion with people, that we are just learning. The irony is we're learning more about ourselves and how we think. Like, we don't necessarily put our information like this, where, you need so much more training to just get these things to do stuff, and you just have to brute force it. Like, there's different ways that we're wired. But in terms of the output, like, it definitely follows that pattern of, okay, Chris said this, here is my prepared kind of responses. And then I'm like constantly shuffling things around in my head. And that's seemingly what these things do, whether it's for images or for just like responses, like they are pattern matching.
Exactly.
So it's a reflection of like, well, it sounds like us because
Because we trained it off of the stuff that we have already done.
Do you remember the thing where it's like, if you gave it incentives, like people maybe forget this, but like it was giving better results if you said, well, give me a $1,000 response. Now give me a $10,000 or $100,000 response. Guess what? The $100,000 response was like a way better quality one.
That's pretty funny.
Because we're human, we have these incentives. Anyway, What's next for you?
Just some minor things out there. So Perplexity just launched Sonar, an API for AI searchers. So for all the developers and enterprise businesses out there, you now have an API to be able to start testing and creating applications or services.
That is
using
interesting.
Their, quite a powerful RAG model. I really love Perplexity. I still use it. I definitely use it more than
Google?
OpenAI's
I'll search GPT.
GPT.
That's interesting.
And I just like the way that it structures a lot of content, although they're starting to feed in a few things that I'm like a little bit, especially with like their e-commerce.
Not safe for work stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's just natural, right? That's what I'm searching
No,
from a day-to-day perspective.
This is good though, because we've found, and this is in terms of like building, we were using an API that was similar to providing news and search, more search like Perplexity, right? We've been testing that out and it's been good, but we were waiting on the day for just to be able to get it from Perplexity. So this sounds like it's the day.
That's it. This is the day. This is the day for that, which would be really nice. So that's out there in the world. Anthropic had an interview they did
Dario.
in the year, Mr. Dario.
Mr. of Machines and Love and Grace. What a title.
He had it was with Wall Street Journal, and kind of the interesting thing here was just a conversation. One, his like the pending AGI discussion. He's probably got one of the more realistic timelines. You talk to, OpenAI and
It's next year.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
next year.
it's now. It's like 6 months away. We're almost there. Oh, is that 03? It's gonna be it.
I told you you'll wait for it.
Like, he's like, 2027 is probably the most likely year. So we're about 2 years away from proper AGI, and then following that, obviously, the super intelligence, not far beyond. But it is as we said, it's an arms race for that. But most interesting,
I would love
one of the
to see
interesting
just
things,
arms, just arms racing.
just arms racing.
It's like, yeah.
Mate, let's
Yeah.
go to the
We would.
generator.
Yeah, it'll happen.
All right, let's go. But one of the things he did highlight is, which I thought was interesting. I don't know whether it's they need to be doing this, given I think Anthropic has a really solid hold on the math and code generating aspects of their tool, but they are now doing voice. We're planning to roll that out in the coming month as well. Which
really?
I thought was interesting. So
That's very interesting.
they haven't got their language model for voice training models to have conversations with their AI tool. So that could probably change how you interact with it. So rather than having to type your queries out while you're generating code or whatever it is that you might be doing with Claude, you can have a conversation with it to do it instead. So just adjust this, or can you tweak that, and hopefully it'll do it live in the canvas while you're having that conversation.
I mean, the speaking of that topic there with Anthropic, Claude, the model that they've got, 3.5 Sonnet especially, is still considered one of the best coding
100%.
tools. And I've seen it when I use Bolt. So shout out to the guys at Bolt as well. By default, they use
Bolt by default.
Bolt by default use 3.5 Sonnet for doing the coding. And when you use Bolt DIY, which is a fork of their open source version where you can choose which model you want to use to have code completion, or even when I use Copilot, GitHub Copilot type stuff with Microsoft Visual Studio Code, you basically see that GPT-4o versus Claude, Claude is hands down a ton better in a lot of tasks. There's certain things where it's like, okay, it's neck and neck, but man.
Particularly when it comes to anything that's Python generating or even front end code, like it's miles ahead.
Yeah.
There are some other tools that do, I mean, particularly when it comes to visualization, does that a lot better from turning that into some kind of HTML or CSS. But 9 times out of 10, you just pump that back into Bolt or into your GitHub repository with Bolt attached to the back of it. It's the best.
Here's one for you.
VO, people are still...
Oh yeah, V0.
V0 is still up there, is pretty good as well. A lot of people are using that over Bolt. It's a mixed match, but Bolt tends to be, I think, shining. Of course, particularly if you engage with anyone across Reddit, Bolt tends to be the one that...
I don't have the... yeah, exactly. I don't have the example here, but its integrations, I think, are going to be the key. Where Bolt has an integration directly into Supabase, which is an online database. If you're used to PostgreSQL, that's one. Google has something called Firebase, which is for NoSQL. I'm getting into the tech nerdy dev stuff here. But depending on the type of thing that you're trying to do, one is better than the other in terms of your projects. But my point is that with Supabase, Bolt had built in an integration. And sure, you have to sign into Supabase like at least once to be able to do it, but you don't have to go back and forth like you normally would with building stuff they just do it for you in Bolt. So it's making it easier. There's still some stuff to improve, but every week they're doing these things and building it open source. We were speaking of the arms race before. You've got the Prompt Cowboy up here, but let's just jump to this. I don't know what the heck is going on here, but there's a weird arms race, Chris. Can you tell what's going on here?
That is creepy as hell.
What about this? Is this a little bit better? I mean, this guy has like 2 thumbs.
Oh, what's wrong with the guy? Yeah, the guy in the background is like several. He's missing half of his thumb.
Who knows, man? It's like, I don't.
Pretty funny. This one's good.
So, the AI was forced to consider in an arms race. Is it an arm with a shorter arm as its legs, right? It's like a dinosaur. It's like a diplodocus or a brontosaurus, right? Versus this.
I don't know what this is. This is like a finger race more than an arms race.
Yeah. This is like the nightmare for... So what's showing on screen here, folks, is like one is just basically all arm. The other one is basically just hands like wiping a table as if the nightmare fuel of someone who just cleaned a table.
We'll post this on TikTok separately.
Yeah, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Thank you, Sora.
Thank you, Sora. Love Sora.
Let's get over to lazy prompts.
Lazy prompts. So just like, this is just a quick thing. I thought it'd be interesting. I just wanted to share this with everyone. You hear a lot about prompt engineering. It's created a whole job sector. I don't want to call it industry, but like a sector of people who are like prompt engineers. Some call them pros. I think it's all a bit of a wish-wash thing, but prompt engineering in itself is still an important thing, and we talk about it a lot because
absolutely
your output from the AI is only as good as your input. And a really good example is literally what you mentioned before, right? Even just saying, "Hey, give me your $1,000 response" versus "Give me your $100,000 response." Like that enticing and that pulling out of information is gonna be as good as how much information or how much like enticing, I guess, per you say, you give the AI.
Yep.
And so what this tool attempts to do is to try and remove that boundary of trying to think about how you structure responses by actually doing it for you. So let's say I want to do something within Bolt, right? I want to create an application, in Bolt that is a chatbot utilizing Open AI's API to engage with customers.
Do it.
So this is like I just made this up on the spot. Obviously I was misspelled there. And so what it pops up now is it has a bit of a think about it, and it structures the content around how you should ask the AI tool, the LLM, to get a better response.
Beautiful.
By both suggesting what the question is, what the situation is, which is really important, the tasks you want it to complete, setting objectives and outcomes, and the important information requirements, and even in some instances where relevant, providing examples. And that's one of the best ways to get outputs is making sure you're sharing examples to the AI as well. It's like I want to see this, or here's an example of something has been done before. And therefore it structures it in a similar way to get that outcome you want.
It's interesting because it gives you all those instructions, but if you were to try that, just knowing how these tools like Bolt work, you've got a lot of steps here. It will definitely miss on some of those. So you could get this thing to, I guess, break it down. But even if you did break it down into parts, trying those first few steps, then errors come up. So, you have to get it like, so there's a bit of massaging, but this is good at least to get things started.
The great thing about this is that, like, let's say you read the response and you're kind of like, oh, I'm not quite happy with what that's saying. You can go through the phases of actually adjusting it accordingly. So you define the purpose. You can have examples that it might feed into it. So restaurant booking assistant, let's just say conversation examples, like I need or want, here's an example of the questions I wanted to ask, and even response style. Like, how do you want it to be casual? Do you want it to be professional? Do you want it to be brief and direct? And so you can tailor that, or you can, keep editing this response by editing the prompt and then readjusting it and looping it. So you're constantly trying to tweak that kind of output rather than doing it within the AI tool. Because once you start adjusting your prompts within the AI tool, those outcomes you also start to adjust, and you can very easily lose sight of what the AI can lose sight of what you were trying to achieve as you're adjusting your response every single time rather than building on the response because you didn't quite get to where you were.
Oh, exactly.
So this is kind of like getting you that 70% of the way to get better outcomes.
Worth a check.
Worth checking it out, yeah.
We'll have that in the show notes and stuff.
And a shout out to the guys who made it.
4 Day.
4 Day. So one of the founders, Henry Badgery, check him out on LinkedIn and X. He's a very smart guy and doing a lot of consulting in that space.
Fantastic. We'll get those in. Make sure you put that in the show notes and stuff there.
Definitely.
Just wanted to showcase, and I know I've shown you guys this before, but this is just like for a little bit of inspiration and stuff. What you can do with AI tools, you can build things like this as ETF tracker. I've now got 477 members signed up that are profiling themselves, that are doing things like saying like, here are the ETFs that I like to track and stuff, and having people just be able to just very quickly get like some quick insights on those ETFs from data that's coming in publicly, but it's taking time to piece it together. Well, we've got AI tools that have helped us build something like this out that used to take me a bit more manual work to do and, then automated. So there was still a lot of like value with the stuff I did before. But given that we've got these AI tools like Bolt and Psych and all these other things out there that have helped piece this together, it just means that you can actually deliver a whole lot more value, take less time to do it. And now that you've got all this spare time, what do you do to add on further to your product? So this is more of like a call to action. I mean, I launched this 24th of December, Christmas Eve, and nearly 500 people have signed up.
Excellent.
It's freaking crazy, right? I wish I monetized it. You can buy me a coffee and stuff for that, but it is public information. I'm not planning on like doing anything kind of crazy with it here, but there are the possibilities to do that. Like if I see that there's enough kind of members coming through or there's sponsorship, then maybe we get some dedicated feeds rather than scraping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think there's some really cool things that you can do with whether it's finance apps, it's stuff that tracks housing prices, it's stuff that makes it easier to consume government type statistics from the ABS. There's a plethora of different cool ideas that people just go, I wish there was something for this. Yeah, you wish, make it happen. You can do this kind of stuff. And if you are getting stuck, reach out to Chris and myself. Like we can definitely help you out as well. I'm seeing more and more people.
Bolt, right?
I made this with Bolt and it wasn't from scratch. Like this was a previous tool that was built. So I knew exactly what I needed to build. You can do things like, hey, Bolt, build me this, but it's like, well, it doesn't have the connections to the data. I had to build that all, I had to offline. There's a whole lot of Python scraping and code and stuff like that. But in terms of piecing it together and making it mobile friendly is the key. This kind of thing you can easily do now. So I think it's just nice to have that call to action to folks to just get out there and build. And if you get stuck, hit us up because we want to have these conversations. The more that is happening in this world like that, it's going to be easier for us to get solutions into businesses. So like we just need to have more people doing it.
100%. Well said.
Any final thoughts from you, Chris?
No, I think that's it.
We're done?
It's been a week, both from a political, from a product release, from a what's coming in the future point of view.
Oh, political product future? No, it doesn't.
Future. From the future?
Yeah.
The future with a PH. There you go.
Future.
ACP.
Future.
So we, pretty excited to see what's come. Good to be back. Good to see your face.
Is it?
Yeah, does it work? And that's, till next time, guys.
We'll see you on Monday, folks, for the podcast. Well, it's more the Twitter Spaces that we're going to do for the Aus DeFi stuff. We will be talking about AI there because there's ways that blockchain is working to help AI. I had it in the last episode and stuff. So we'll be diving into that a little bit more. So check that one out. See you online. See you next week. And thanks very much.
AI.
In your ear. Podcast beats stay crystal clear. AI.